I felt the floor rush up to meet me before I even understood that I was falling. One moment, I was shuffling down the hallway the way I always did at 4 in the morning, steadying myself with the wall while my joints reminded me that I was 73 and diabetic. The next moment, my foot slid out from under me. My balance vanished, and I hit the wooden boards with a sound that tore the breath out of my chest. The shock was cold and bright, like someone had cracked ice across my ankle. I lay there, stunned, the sting traveling up my leg in slow pulses. For a few seconds, I could not move. I could barely even breathe. And then I heard it. Laughter. Not the kind that warms a room. Not the kind that says someone cares. No, this was sharp, cruel. A sound that cut through the darkness like a blade. It was coming from Eddie's room. I froze, listening, because part of me desperately wanted to be wrong. Maybe the pain was making me imagine things. Maybe I was hearing the television. Maybe after all these years of disappointment and heartbreak, I was still foolish enough to hope. But the voice was unmistakable. "Did you hear that?" a woman giggled. "Yeah," Eddie answered, his tone full of amusement instead of concern. "She falls all the time. Don't help. She's used to falling." Another burst of laughter followed, louder this time, like my pain was some kind of entertainment for them. And something inside me cracked. I had spent years patching that part of myself back together, the part that still wanted to believe Eddie, my own son, had even the smallest spark of compassion buried somewhere inside him. I had held on to that hope through every lie, every insult, every slammed door, every woman he brought into my house like it was nothing more than a cheap motel. I had held onto it through every time he took my survivor benefits and vanished for days. Every time he returned smelling of cheap alcohol and cheaper perfume, every time he looked at me not as his mother but as a resource he could drain. But hearing him laugh while I lay helpless on the floor, that hope died. It withered right then and there. It curled up into ash. And as I stared at the baseboard inches from my face, my breath trembling, I felt something else rise to take its place. Something heavier, older, and far more honest. If this story means something to you, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. The pain in my ankle burned, but the pain in my chest, that was different. That was the ache of 16 years spent caring for Jonathan, my sweet boy with the broken body but the purest heart. The child who never walked, never spoke more than a handful of words, yet somehow managed to teach me more about love than anyone else ever had. Jonathan had passed when he was still young, a long time ago, but he never would have laughed at someone hurting. Never. Not once. He had known suffering too intimately to mock it in anyone else. Eddie, on the other hand, Eddie had always been a storm, unpredictable, destructive, loud, and self-centered. Even when he was a teenager, he seemed to orbit only his own impulses. He got a girl pregnant at 18 and never looked back. That was how little he cared. And now, after decades of recklessness, he was 50 years old and still acting like a restless, angry child who expected the world to clean up after him. And I had allowed it. I had told myself he needed help, stability, understanding. I had told myself he would grow out of it. I had told myself that a mother's love meant staying, supporting, enduring. But in that moment, on the cold floor of my own hallway, listening to him laugh as if I were nothing, I finally understood something I should have realized years ago. I was not helping him. I was enabling him. I closed my eyes, biting back tears as I tried to shift my weight. The pain surged again, rippling like electricity. I tried to call out his name, but only a strangled sound came out. Half pain, half disbelief. For a moment, I wondered if I might faint, but the humiliation kept me conscious. Minutes passed. Long, hollow minutes filled with their muffled voices and my thudding heartbeat. And then, just as my strength began to drain completely, I heard a door creak open. Not Eddie's, but the front door. And then a voice. Her voice. "Grandma?" Relief washed over me so suddenly I almost sobbed. Tatiana. Sweet, unexpected, miraculous Tatiana. My granddaughter, though Eddie never claimed her. She had found me by chance only a few years earlier after her mother passed. A shy message in my mailbox. A trembling voice saying she thought we might be family. And from the moment I saw her, those soft eyes the same hazel as Jonathan's, I knew. I knew she was mine. "Grandma, where are you?" she called again, footsteps quickening. I managed to whisper, "Here, hallway." She appeared seconds later, dropping to her knees beside me with a gasp. "Oh my God, Grandma, what happened? Are you in pain?" Her hands were gentle but firm as she checked my ankle, her brow furrowed with real concern, the kind that warms you from the inside out, not like the cold laughter still echoing down the hall. "Eddie's here?" she murmured, glancing toward his room with a flash of anger. "He didn't help you?" I shook my head, and the shame flooded me again. But beneath it, something stronger, something hardening. "He laughed," I whispered. "They both did." Tatiana inhaled sharply. I watched as her jaw clenched, the way a protective mother might react to a child being hurt. She didn't say anything at first. She just helped me sit up slowly, her touch steady, her presence grounding. And then she glanced down the hallway again, her voice low. "You deserve so much better than this." Those words, simple, sharp, true. They slid into my heart and unlocked a door I had kept bolted for far too long. She helped me into her car, drove me to the hospital, stayed with me through x-rays and medication, held my hand when the pain grew overwhelming. And the entire time I kept thinking about that cold laughter, that echo of indifference from the person I had sacrificed so much for. Later, after the doctor confirmed my ankle was badly twisted but not broken, after they wrapped it and gave me crutches and instructions I already knew by memory, Tatiana walked me outside into the early morning light. The sky was turning a pale gold, the world waking up slowly, unaware that mine had just shifted entirely. When she settled me into the passenger seat, she looked at me a long moment, her eyes softening. "Grandma," she said quietly, "you can't keep living like this. He doesn't value you. He doesn't respect you. He doesn't even see you." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with a fierce sort of sadness. And I finally let myself say the words I had swallowed for years. "I know," she exhaled, her relief and heartbreak mingling. "Then let me help you. Let me help you change things. Change things." The phrase lingered in the air like a spark waiting to fall into the right patch of dry grass. When we reached home, Eddie was sitting in the kitchen, shirtless and annoyed, as though Tatiana's presence inconvenienced him. He grunted at me, pretended to show concern only long enough to make himself look decent, and then asked if I was still planning to transfer him money later that week. Not one word about my fall. Not one word of apology. That was when the idea first flickered. Not a full plan, not even a full thought, just a quiet whisper inside me that said, he would only understand my absence, not my presence. For the rest of the day, I sat in my bedroom with my ankle elevated, staring at the ceiling while memories flooded me. The nights spent at Jonathan's bedside listening to his shallow breathing, the years spent working double shifts so Eddie could have a better childhood than I had, the disappointments, the debts, the broken promises, the fear of him coming home angry or drunk or desperate, the endless ache of sacrificing myself for a son who only ever took. By evening, that whisper had turned into a voice. A steady one, a necessary one. Tatiana came into the room with a bowl of soup and set it beside me. She had cleaned the kitchen after Eddie left it filthy, washed the dishes he had used overnight, taken out the trash he ignored. She did all this without being asked, without expectation, without resentment. And because of that, because of her quiet loyalty, her compassion, I realized I owed her something too. I owed her a better life than the one she had walked into. That was the moment the plan took shape. It came to me with a strange, chilling calmness, the type of clarity that only arrives when the heart has finally reached its limit. I would disappear. Not forever. Not really, but long enough for Eddie to feel the weight of my absence. Long enough for him to finally stop leaning on me like a crutch he never deserved. Long enough for me to rebuild something healthier. For myself and for Tatiana. I would fake my own death. It sounded impossible, dramatic, irrational. But as the idea sat with me, it began to feel less like madness and more like liberation. A clean break from a lifetime of enabling. A doorway out of the prison I had built around myself, one sacrifice at a time. The next morning I called Helen, my old friend and attorney. She had handled the estate when Anthony died. She had known Jonathan, had loved him like her own nephew. She listened quietly as I told her what happened. She didn't question my sanity. She didn't tell me I was overreacting. She just said, "Tanya, I think it is time." Time, yes. Time to end the cycle. Time to reclaim what remained of my dignity. Time to honor Jonathan's memory with more than silent suffering. Over the next days, as my ankle healed slowly and Tatiana stayed by my side, bringing groceries, helping me with chores, and filling the house with the warmth Eddie had never given, the plan grew roots. It became real. And with each step I took toward it, I felt lighter, like shedding a heavy coat I had worn for so long that I forgot it was even there. But nothing prepared me for the moment I realized what the consequences would be. For Eddie, for me, for the life I had lived up until now. And nothing prepared me for the moment he would discover that his mother, the woman he had used, drained, dismissed, and laughed at, had left him nothing. Nothing at all. That pain, that reckoning, that unraveling of his entitlement, it was coming. And I was no longer afraid. I spent the next morning sitting at the small table in my bedroom with the curtains half drawn, letting in only a sliver of the gray daylight. My ankle still throbbed, wrapped tightly in bandages that pulsed with every movement, but the pain had become something distant, something manageable. Because something else had taken its place, something sharper, steadier, and undeniably alive. Resolve. It sat in my chest like a stone that had finally settled after years of trembling. I felt it each time I breathed, each time I remembered the echo of Eddie's laughter from the night I fell. That sound haunted me, but not the way it once might have. It no longer made me want to curl into myself. It made me want to stand, even if standing required a cane and a brace and a few sharp breaths. Tatiana came over early, her hair pulled into a loose bun, wearing a sweater too big for her and carrying that quiet determination she always had when she sensed something was wrong. She set a cup of warm tea on my nightstand and looked at me as if she were reading the entire weight of my life in the lines on my face. "You barely slept," she murmured. "I've had years of practice," I answered. She smiled faintly but didn't press. She was like that, gentle when gentleness was needed, fierce when fierceness was called for. In another life, I sometimes thought she might have been the daughter I never had. For a long moment, we sat in silence, the kind that speaks louder than noise. And then I said quietly, "I need to make some arrangements." Her head snapped toward me. "Arrangements?" I met her gaze. "For the future." The room seemed to still. She set her cup down slowly, carefully, as if any sudden movement might cause the world to break. "Grandma," she said softly, "whatever you're thinking, you don't have to go through it alone." But I had already made up my mind. The idea had settled into me with the precision of a blade finding its sheath. Perfect. Inevitable. "I'm not," I said. "I have you." Her eyes softened the way they always did when she tried not to cry. Eddie chose that moment, in some cruel twist of timing, to stumble into the hallway. I could hear his footsteps, heavy and careless, followed by the grumble of irritation when he realized Tatiana's car was parked outside again. He knocked once on my door, then pushed it open without waiting for permission. "Ma," he said, arms crossed. "You got that money you said you'd sort out this week?" The audacity lodged in my throat like a piece of broken glass. I had never told him I would give him money, but he had a habit of rewriting conversations in his own favor. In his mind, anything he wanted was something he must have been promised. Before I could speak, Tatiana stepped between us, her shoulders squared. "She just fell yesterday," she snapped. "And that's what you ask about?" He rolled his eyes, glancing at her with that dismissive snarl he gave anyone who dared hold up a mirror to his failures. "This is family business." "Oh, is it?" she shot back. "Funny how you only remember she's your family when you want something." His face twisted in annoyance. "You think you know everything, little girl? You barely know her. I'm the one who..." "You're the one who laughed while she was on the floor," she said quietly. The silence that followed felt like a slow-moving storm. Eddie's gaze flicked to me, then away, as if he could pretend it didn't happen, as if his indifference could be forgotten with the sunrise. "You're exaggerating," he muttered. "I heard you," I said. My voice was calm now, too calm, and I think maybe it's time things change around here. His eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "That I will not be giving you money," I said. "Not today, not anymore." Something shifted in his expression. Not sadness, not guilt, but panic. A flash of it, quick, sharp, then buried under anger. "You think you can cut me off?" he demanded. "After everything I've done for you?" The laugh that escaped me was soft, humorless, almost pitying. "What have you done for me, Eddie?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have an answer, and he knew it. He stormed away a second later, the door slamming so hard the walls shook. Tatiana sat beside me, placing her hand over mine. "He won't change," she whispered. "No matter how much you hope, he won't." "I know," I said, and for the first time in my life, I truly meant it. That afternoon, when she drove me to Helen's office, I felt strangely detached, as if the world had turned into a glass sphere and I was watching everything unfold from outside. Even the sky looked different, washed out, muted, as if reflecting the strange stillness inside me. Helen greeted us with that familiar softness she carried like a shield. She had aged too, her hair whiter, her posture more stooped, but her eyes had the same sharpness, the same warmth she had always offered me. "Tanya," she said, taking my hand. "You told me on the phone that you've made a decision." I nodded. "Then come in," she said gently. "We'll talk." The office smelled faintly of old books and lemon cleaner. Sunlight spilled across the shelves, illuminating the framed picture of her children, the certificates on the wall, the box of tissues she always kept within reach. It felt safe there. It always had. I told her everything: the fall, the laughter, the years of disrespect, the late nights waiting for Eddie to come home, the way he drained my bank account with his impulsive demands, the time he stole my credit card, the time he pawned the gold bracelet Anthony gave me for our 40th wedding anniversary, the time he told me I owed him. As I spoke, Helen's expression shifted from sadness to anger to something more resolute. "Tanya," she murmured, "you've endured enough." I nodded again. "I want to rewrite my will." She didn't blink. She simply reached for a folder. "Tell me exactly what you want." For the next hour, I did just that. I told her I wanted Jonathan remembered. Not with grief, but with purpose. I wanted most of what I owned to go to the foundation that supported children like him, families like ours once were. I wanted his short life to ripple outward and help strangers he would never meet. I wanted something good to grow from the years of love and exhaustion and devotion that shaped me. Then I spoke of Tatiana, my granddaughter, my unexpected blessing, the one person who had stepped into my life without obligation, without entitlement, without expectation, and given more than I had ever asked for. For her, I wanted security, a protected fund, safe from Eddie, safe from anyone who might try to take advantage of her. Enough for her to build a stable life, a peaceful life, something she could lean on if the world ever became too heavy. And for Eddie, nothing. The word lingered in the air with a weight that felt both painful and freeing. I had imagined this moment once, but in my fantasies, refusing him anything felt cruel, heartless, unnatural. But now, it felt necessary. Like finally closing a door that had been hanging open for far too long, banging in the wind, letting the cold in. When everything was signed, witnessed, notarized, and sealed, I felt a strange sensation ripple through me. The same quiet calm I had felt the morning after the fall, but deeper now, more complete, as if the pieces of my life were slowly moving into place. Helen touched my arm. "And about the other matter," she said softly. "The death?" I whispered. She nodded. "We will handle it discreetly. You will have a window of time where Eddie believes you are gone. Use it to protect yourself. Use it to rebuild." Her voice was steady, but her eyes glistened. I swallowed hard. "Thank you." When we left her office, the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in streaks of gold and crimson. The same colors that used to reflect off Jonathan's wheelchair when I wheeled him down the sidewalk in the evenings. For a moment, as we crossed the parking lot, I imagined him beside me, small, frail, smiling the way he used to when the breeze touched his face. It gave me strength. Over the next 2 days, the plan unfolded like a slow-moving storm, quiet, methodical. I wrote letters. I organized accounts. I prepared what few belongings I would take with me when the moment came. I stored away the rest in boxes labeled with dates and destinations that only Helen and Tatiana understood. I watched Eddie move around the house with his usual arrogance, leaving dishes in the sink, muttering to himself, making phone calls he tried to hide from me. He didn't notice the shifts. He didn't notice the way Tatiana handled everything with a purpose now. He didn't notice anything outside of what he wanted next. And that was his downfall. The morning the call was staged, the morning Eddie answered the phone and heard the words that his mother had passed unexpectedly, I watched from the window of a friend's house across town, hidden from view, my hands trembling slightly around a cup of tea. Tatiana sat beside me. She didn't let go of my hand. Eddie's voice carried through the phone Helen placed on speaker for us to hear. First confusion, then impatience, then only one word, inheritance? Not what happened, not is she in pain, not I want to see her. Just that single, hollow, greedy word. Tatiana squeezed my hand so tightly I felt her heartbeat through her palm. And when he realized there was nothing, absolutely nothing left for him, he screamed. He cursed, he accused, he demanded, he threatened, he broke. Not in grief, not in love, in rage. Rage that the well he had drunk from all his life had gone dry. I sat there listening, my tea cooling untouched in my hands, and I expected to feel guilt, remorse, something. Instead, I felt the profound silence that comes after a long, violent storm, the kind that leaves the world washed clean. Tatiana wiped her eyes and whispered, "You're free now, Grandma." But it wasn't until the day of the will reading, the day I returned, alive and standing, and saw the look on Eddie's face when he realized I had chosen to live without him, that the true beginning of my freedom would unfold. And I knew, as I prepared to walk into that room, that the next moments would decide the rest of my life. I walked into the attorney's conference room with my cane in one hand and Tatiana's arm steadying me on the other side. My ankle ached in dull, rhythmic pulses, but I welcomed the pain. It reminded me that I was alive, that I was present, that this moment was mine to claim. Helen looked up when we entered, and the faint lift of her eyebrows was the only sign she gave that everything was going exactly as planned. She had arranged the chairs in a neat circle, the documents in a folder at the center of the table beside a small glass of water. It looked almost ceremonial, the way someone might prepare a space for a confession. But it was Eddie who made the room feel heavy. He was pacing when we came in, jaw clenched, hands shaking in barely restrained fury. When he heard the door open, he turned, half a snarl already on his mouth, and then froze. For a heartbeat, his expression went blank. Then the color drained from his face. Then came the sound, a strangled, animal-like grunt as confusion slammed into denial, then into disbelief, then into rage. "How?" He staggered a step, blinking hard. You died." I stood there quietly, placing one foot carefully in front of the other as I made my way to the empty chair Helen had left for me. I did not sit yet. I wanted him to feel the full weight of my presence before I lowered myself into that seat. "I am alive," I said simply. The words came out steady, calm, unshakable. They landed like stones. Eddie stared at me as if the sight of me breathing was a personal betrayal. His mouth twisted into something between a sneer and a gasp. You let me think." "I let you think nothing," I said. "You assumed." His breath came fast now. "You tricked me." "No," I said softly. "I protected myself." The room fell into a silence so taut it hummed in the air like a wire pulled too tight. Tatiana stepped forward slightly, not enough to interfere, but enough to make clear she was there, solid as stone. The granddaughter Eddie never bothered to know. The granddaughter he once claimed was probably not even his, despite the fact that she had his jawline, his hair, and, God help her, some of his stubbornness too. But she had not inherited his cruelty. She had not inherited his entitlement. She was her own person, kind, strong, grounded. And she stood beside me in a way Eddie never had. Helen cleared her throat gently. "Since everyone is here," she said, "we can proceed with the reading of the amended will." Eddie whipped his head toward her. "I already know there's nothing for me." He spat. "You told me. That phone call. You let me think my mother died for nothing." Helen straightened her papers with that slow, deliberate calm she used whenever she was about to diffuse a volatile situation. "Mr. Hubert, the updated documents were signed legally and executed in accordance with state law. Your mother has the right to distribute her estate as she sees fit." "I am her son," he shouted. I lifted my chin slightly. "And for 50 years, you acted like I was your servant." His eyes snapped to me, wild and darting. "I lived in your house. I helped you. I kept you company." "You exploited me," I corrected, my voice low. "You lived off me. You used my home. You spent my money. You left me with nothing but stress and noise and disappointment." "That is not true." "You laughed," I said, while I lay on the hallway floor unable to stand. His face twisted, but he did not deny it. Not this time. Now that the truth was being spoken aloud in the bright, sterile light of Helen's office, there was no way out of it. He was cornered by his own history. "You fell all the time," he snapped. "It was not a big deal." "It was to me," I said. That stopped him, not because he cared, but because he had never expected me to finally say it. Helen opened the folder. "Let us begin." But I raised a hand. I was not done. Not yet. "I want him to hear it from me," I said. Helen nodded and stepped back, letting the moment belong to us. I looked at Eddie, really looked at him, at the man he had become, the child he had never stopped being, the empty places inside him that no amount of money or pity or enabling could ever fill. "I spent my life carrying you," I said. "Your debts, your excuses, your anger, your failures. I thought that was what a mother did. Carry her child no matter how heavy, no matter how much it hurt." He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. "I carried you," I repeated, "while my other son carried an illness he never asked for. While Jonathan struggled for each breath, you wasted yours on lies and selfishness." His face tightened, a fleeting flicker of shame passing through him, quickly swallowed by resentment. "And even then," I said, "I still loved you more than you deserved." Silence. The quiet pressed in, thick as fog. "But love is not the same as letting someone destroy you," I said, "and I will not let you destroy what is left of me." Eddie dragged a hand over his face, pacing again, muttering curses beneath his breath. "So what, you fake your death to punish me?" "I faked it," I answered, "to free myself." His eyes sharpened. "Free yourself? From your own son?" "You stopped being my son," I said, "the moment you decided my suffering was entertainment." Tatiana exhaled sharply, tears shining but not falling. Eddie shook his head hard, almost violently, his voice shaking now. "You cannot do this. You cannot leave me with nothing." "I already left you with nothing," I said, "when I stopped believing you would ever change." His breathing turned shallow, frantic. "Where am I supposed to live? How am I supposed to survive?" "Find a job," I said simply. It was the most powerful sentence I had ever spoken, the simplest, the most needed. He stood there, stunned, as if the idea had never once crossed his mind. Maybe it had not. Maybe he had always seen me as the safety net he could throw himself on without consequence. But that net was gone, and I was not apologizing for removing it. Helen cleared her throat again and lifted the will. What followed was a quiet storm. Her voice methodically outlining the donations made in Jonathan's name, the establishment of the fund for Tatiana, the house placed under my sole authority and protected against Eddie ever claiming residency again, and the explicit clause stating that Eddie Hubert was disinherited in full. He sank into a chair, his face going slack, his eyes glassy with the realization he could no longer outrun. When it was over, Helen closed the folder. Tatiana stepped closer to me, and Eddie finally broke. But not into tears, not into remorse. He broke into anger. Wild, thrashing anger, filled with the same entitlement that had defined him his entire life. "You are going to regret this," he shouted. "Both of you." "No," I said. "I'm going to live because of this." Tatiana helped me toward the door, while Eddie raged behind us, his voice splintering into incoherent curses and accusations. But the more distance I put between myself and that room, the lighter I felt, as if every step untangled another knot in my chest. Outside, the air smelled like the beginning of spring. Clean, cool, new. I closed my eyes and breathed it in. For the first time in decades, the world felt wide again. Spacious, full of possibilities instead of burdens. When we reached my house, finally free of Eddie's chaos and noise, I felt a tremor of peace move through me. It was quiet, still, the kind of quiet that feels like a blessing instead of a warning. Tatiana followed me inside, her arm linked with mine. She had offered to stay with me, to move in temporarily, to help me adjust to this new life. I had agreed, not because I needed someone to lean on, but because I wanted her there. As we unpacked groceries together later that evening, I caught myself humming. I had not hummed in years. The house felt different, warmer, brighter, as if the walls themselves were relieved. That night, I sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching the sun settle behind the trees. The birds had begun their spring melodies already, soft and hopeful, singing like the world was urging me forward. I felt the years loosen their grip on me. I felt Jonathan near somehow, like a memory touched by light. I felt the weight of Antony's love, steady even after all these years. And I felt Tatiana's presence in the house, moving softly, filling the rooms with a gentle kind of life Eddie had never understood. My story had not ended. It had only finally begun. And as I sat there, feeling a peace I had waited decades to feel, I let the final truth settle into me. Family is not defined by blood. Family is defined by who holds you when you fall, not who laughs while you lie on the floor. To those listening, what would you have done in my place? Tell me where you are listening from. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you wish to support more stories like this, you can use the Super Thanks feature with heartfelt greetings. Until next time.